Well, good morning. How y'all doing? Good. You don't have to be good. You can be like mediocre. I'm a 6 out of 10. Yeah, mediocre. We got one right here. Excellent. Hey, my name is Mark. We haven't met yet. One of the pastors here, and so great that you're here for our last part of the series. Before we start, can I just do something? In our home, it's been really just dark. We've had kids with the flu. My wife's had the flu. She threw it her back. And I'm totally healthy, which is strange because I'm the weakest link in the family with regards to immunity. My wife, South Asian background, she's I'm telling you, it's all the pollution in India, nothing gets us down. And usually I come home sick all the time and I give it to everybody else. But this time I didn't. So by God's grace, I'm good. And they're all at home. So one sec, okay. Hi, Gray. Hi, Kaya. Love you guys. No, this is not FaceTime. No, I don't hear you right now. Last time they were sick, I did that. And then my kids spent the rest of the service going, why Papa not answer me? Why are you not listening to me? So I can't hear you, bud, but I love you, okay? But anyways, so good to be with you. We are, as Janet said, in our last part, our 5th part of the series. Who's been here literally live in the auditorium for the last 5 weeks? You haven't missed a week. Okay, awesome. Well, I know a lot of you have been catching up online, been keeping the conversation going and living out a lot of the stuff we've been chatting about, so that's been really, really good. Last week, who enjoyed having the free therapy session? Wasn't that cool? I was for the first time, I get to sit next to my wife in church and any. And so it was this, though. It was oh, wait, I gotta take a note. Oh, okay, hang on. I'm what's wrong? I'm it's just so good. So anyways, I was doing this the whole time. But that was so good, and it was really cool. Our downtown site, one of Andrea's colleagues with 5-Star Relationships actually attends the downtown site, so she was actually speaking to the downtown community. So they both had therapy sessions. So that was really, really cool, really exciting. And some of you were looking kind of for more information on how to kind of deal with shame and wrestling with that and all those different things. And so one thing that's really helpful, and we'll talk more about this in the future, but CR is something you hear a lot about, or Celebrate Recovery, the longer version, which is I have no idea what that is. A lot of people have thought Celebrate Recovery for a long time is simply just people with addictions. It's that, but it's so much more than that. We like to say anybody with any hurts, hang-ups, or addictive habits, anything going on in your life that you're just having trouble getting past, finding freedom in, discovering the freedom that God has for you, discovering if there even is a God that cares for you. Every Monday night, there's over 100 people that meet in our Celebrate Recovery group, just in the next room over in the chapel, and you don't need to sign up. You can literally just show up. Every week's a great week to be a newcomer. They have a newcomer group every single week, and it's just an incredible atmosphere. It's been going on here for so many years, and I just am blown away by the number of people that I meet here at Lakeside, because I'm relatively new. I'm still in my first year. The number of people who a big part of their story, a big place where they found healing and they found relationship with Jesus and they found freedom was actually in Celebrate Recovery. So I would encourage you, that's such a great move, especially if you were kind of last week just blew things apart and you're I don't know how to put this back together, right? You're just you just got all the shame, all this guilt. You have these patterns of going back and forth, and that image of a dog returning to its vomit, I don't know if that stuck with you, it stuck with me. That was powerful. That was good, Andrea. But that's so great. Mondays, 7 p.m., Celebrate Recovery right here. No need to sign up. But hey, if you're here today and it's your first time, you're great. The end of a series. It's the end of a movie, and you're just right? I missed the first part. 2 things. One, I feel that, okay? So I try and make every message stand alone, even if it is part of a series. So don't feel bad. You just got here today. I believe God has something for you. You're I'm not even sure I believe in God. I'm not sure I believe there's anybody out there, or if there is, I got a lot of questions. Today's the perfect day to have come. Today we're going to unpack some of those questions and some of those wrestlings and some of the reasons people have trouble believing in God. It's how's there a good God if there's so much evil in the world? And that's been your struggle. Today's an amazing day for you. And it's also amazing to kind of journey with this, because if you're kind of on this quest where you're trying to find out what's real, what's true, is faith the thing I want to engage with, you're not, this is my experience, okay, just my experience. When I talk to people who are wrestling with faith, you're not just trying to figure out what's true. You want to know what works. That you're okay, sure, God came in the flesh, died on the cross, maybe he rose from the dead, I'm not sure, but what good is that? That's 2,000 years ago. And you're wrestling with, how does that impact my life today? And the thing I think you'll be blown away by, and we've been unpacking it, as Janet said, you can catch up on our YouTube channel, is that for the last 5 weeks, we've been talking about one of the most debilitating things in our world. We were just chatting with the mayor just less than an hour ago, and he's like, this is one of the things that is such a major issue in our city, in our province, and it's continually the story over and over and over again, that we don't have a way of dealing with mental health. And what we've been discovering over the last few weeks is that the scriptures are full of people who don't run away from mental health, but engage with it, wrestle with it, take it to God, and today we're going to discover just that. And so today's going to be a lot about practical things, what to do when you're battling mental health and what to do when others that you love or the others that you're surrounded with are battling with mental health. And I want to read to you a letter, and it's pretty raw, I'll just warn you, but it's real. And it's a much longer letter. I took out some excerpts and just kind of put it in my own words, but this is really, it's not my words, it's someone else's, and I just want to read it for you. Why was I born? I hope nobody ever remembers that I was. In fact, I hope they forget the day they found out they were pregnant with me. Why wasn't my mom's womb shut down? Why couldn't I just die in childbirth? Why did I get the opportunity to be fed? If I hadn't, I could be at rest right now. Why couldn't I be a stillborn child? Why would someone give life to someone so miserable? Why was life given to my bitter soul? I long for death, but it's not coming. I dig for death like buried treasure. I'd be glad if I could just find my grave. My painful cries pour out like water because the things I fear are upon me. The thing I dread has arrived. I'm not at ease. I want rest. The trouble keeps coming. If someone could just weigh my pain on a scale, they'd discover it's heavier than all the sand on the sea. Oh, that God would just answer my prayer. If God could just crush me, that he would just let loose and cut me off. Am I supposed to be patient? Where do I find help? All help has been taken away from me. People look at me and they're afraid. Have I done something wrong? Somebody teach me something. I'll listen, but say something, please. Help me understand what I've done wrong. My family's distant from me now. Where are my relatives? Where are my close friends? I think they've forgotten that I exist. In fact, I think they abhor the thought of me. The guests in my own house look at me like a stranger. Kids despise me and talk about me behind my back. My loved ones have turned against me. I hate my life. Where's that from? Like, is that someone's last note before they took their life? Is that from some sort of psychology textbook on how to discover when someone's really battling with mental health? It's actually from the scriptures. It's actually a summary of a lot of things, and in fact, it goes on for about 3 hours if you were to read it all, of a man named Job crying out in pain. And today we're going to kind of go through that book. There's 42 chapters. We're going to, understatement of the year, skim through 30,000-foot view of everything that Job was going through and how he got to this place. You're like, wait. That's in the Bible? Like, did that guy get struck down with lightning? Like, was he possessed by a demon? Like, how did he make it into the Bible? No, in fact, the story starts with this meeting in heaven where God's chatting with the angels and Satan comes in, and then God actually just says to Satan, because Satan's always kind of messing around with things, and this is what you'd find in Job chapter 1, verse 8. And the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job, whose letter I just read you? That there's no one like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and turns away from evil. Of all the people on the earth, the person who wrote this letter is the person that God's like, he's blameless, he's upright, there's nobody else like him on the earth. To which you say, then how did he get to this place? And it's a fantastic question. There's a conversation that continues, and Satan basically says back to God, Job's only good because he has good things in life. But if you took the good things away, he would curse you, God. And so God actually in the story says, you know what? You take away and do whatever you want with Job and watch what happens. And so Job chapter 1 is probably one of the darkest chapters in the entire scriptures, that Job's actually chatting with someone and then a servant runs in, interrupts the conversation, and he's like, Job, there's this horrible thing that happened. All your servants are dead. I'm the only one who's left. And then as that person's sharing, someone else comes and says, all your livestock has died, all your property, all your possessions, it's all done, it's all finished. And as that person, before they can even finish, they get interrupted and someone says, Job, all your kids, you know how they love getting together because they're just in such good relationship with each other. They love to eat good food and drink good wine. They were all hanging out in their house and this massive wind came, knocked down the house, and they're all dead. Can you get any more bad news in a chapter of the Bible? You will never go to Hobby Lobby and find some rustic piece of barnwood with a Job chapter 1 quote. You won't find it because you don't want it in your house. It is so depressing what happens in the book of Job. And Job loses it. And it says he does not curse God. And so Satan comes back and God's like, you know what? You could even go after him. If you really want, this is a very unique story. This is not the story of how everything happens. We'll talk about that in a second. But in this story, God's like, you can go after him. And so then the story continues, chapter 2, verse 7. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and struck Job with loathsome sores from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. Just imagine. You've lost everything, and in your brokenness, now you're incredibly pained in your body. And he took a piece of broken pottery with which to scrape himself while he sat in the ashes. Just imagine having so much physical pain and so many wounds all over your body that you grab a shard of pottery and start jabbing at your skin because you're like, will anything take this pain away? And some of you, you're like, you know that place. You know that place where you've been to the doctors, you've tried all the medications, and the pain will not go away. And you try and try and try, and it's maybe not a shard of pottery, but maybe it's a bottle, maybe it's pills, maybe it's pornography, maybe it's binge watching TV, maybe it's, numerous affairs, whatever it is. It's these things that we involve ourselves in to simply try and numb the pain when nothing seems to take away the pain. And then Job's wife, even she's had enough, and she's just like, here's the worst marital advice ever, but this is what happens when you're just so broken by the things going on. His wife said to him, do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die. She's like, forget about God. Flip him the bird and just take your life. There is no point in continuing any longer. And then this is where the story starts to build up, and this is where the majority of the book of Job is written. His friends come. Okay, Job chapter 2, verse 11. When Job's three friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, heard all the troubles that had come upon him, they set out from their homes and met together by agreement. They planned to, Job's having a bad day, more than a bad day. There's another understatement, right? It's like, let's go and sympathize with him and let's comfort him. And it continues. When they saw him from a distance, they could hardly recognize him. And they began to weep aloud. They tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads. That was a way of mourning back then. You're like, that's weird. That's just what they did. They ripped their clothes. They put ashes on their head. So they didn't. So they joined him in that. They sat on the ground with him. They joined him in the midst of his pain for 7 days and 7 nights. No one said a word to him because they saw how great his suffering was. Here's the bottom line for today. This is the one thing Job's friends get right before they royally screw up everything. Presence is your greatest present. Presence is your greatest present. When people are battling mental health, when they are struggling with the dark things of life, presence, being present with them is your greatest present. That so often when someone's struggling, it's like, come on, just come. We'll be outside the house in 10 minutes. We're going to the fair, we're going to ride the merry-go-round. I don't know, whatever it is. Or we're going to the bar, we're going to get plastered, whatever it is, right? It's this thing, and often what you discover when you're really gut level honest about your attempts to comfort your friends is that your attempts for comfort were more about you being comfortable than them being comfortable. That sometimes the greatest gift is just to be present in the midst of their sorrow, to join them in their pain. That so often we try and remove them from their pain. Pain's a bad feeling. We don't want to feel that, so we have to remove them from it. But we're going to discover today it's so important to sit in the midst of it. That sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone battling mental health is actually to join them in their dark place, to sit in the dirt with them for days on end and not say a word. I remember when I had my mental breakdown. If you weren't here, it's in part 2 on YouTube, and I just share my story of what happened. I still remember the 3 friends who came to me all separately, and they would just regularly, they'd come and they'd just sit in my driveway, they'd bring a meal, they'd just sit quietly and wait. And they'd often ask, what's helpful? Do you want me to talk? Do you want me to be quiet? What a great question. What's helpful? What's helpful? What's helpful? They'd pick me up, take me for a drive. I couldn't even drive at that state. So they'd take me for a drive, go to the drive-thru, grab a coffee, and we'd just sit and talk or cry or whatever I needed to do, but they would just sit with me in that pain, and that went on for over a month. It was just an incredible gift that these three friends who came around me and just sat with me in the midst of the pain. Presence was their greatest present to me. That the statistics with mental health say that one of the most important things that people battling mental health is that they have people around them that they can trust. As Jesus followers, we're called to carry each other's burdens. But you can't carry someone's burdens if you don't know what their burdens are, and people don't share their burdens with people they don't trust. But let me tell you something that builds trust really fast. Sitting with someone in the midst of their pain and waiting and waiting and waiting. And when it gets uncomfortable, waiting some more. That over time, you get to be the person who gets to journey through the pain, but sometimes the first step is just to sit in the awkward silence or to hold them or to serve them or whatever it is that they need, that we so badly resist this in a culture, but it is so, so, so important. And then chapter 3 comes, and Job starts to share from his heart. He says, I don't get what's going on. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm angry. I wish I wasn't born. Some of the parts of that letter that we start to see. And then Eliphaz, okay? Eliphaz is friend number 1, okay? Eliphaz is like that friend. You know that friend that's like when you're going through a hard time, this is their advice? Yeah, but there's kids in Africa, right? You know that friend, you're like, yeah, I'm sitting next to that friend right now. I hope they're taking notes, right? But it's like, it's just like their job is to one-up your pain. It's like, yeah, I'm really sad that this happened to my mom. It's like, well, my mom is like, this is not a competition, okay? You're not here to compare burdens. You're here to help me carry mine. Okay, that is such a big thing. So often we're like, okay, yeah, but it's not that bad, or I know someone who went through it worse. Here's something that's maybe a game changer for you. It was for me. Someone help me understand this. Pain is like a gas. Okay, gas is something very simple, and it's very interesting. It fills whatever space it's in. It doesn't matter how much gas is in the room. It fills the space. Pain is that way. There is no point in comparing, but it's not that bad, or it could have been worse. That doesn't help. Pain is pain. Don't be an Eliphaz. Don't pull that. But that's what he does. That's exactly what he does. And he kind of goes on, and I'll kind of summarize. He's like, you can't be innocent. Look at all these bad things that are happening to you. Bad things don't happen to good people. You must deserve all this stuff that's happening to you right now. God must be disciplining you. That's what Eliphaz says. And Job's just like, that's just bad theology. He's like, no. My complaints are just. And then Job says something, okay? And I want you to turn there. This is so important. Turn to Job chapter 6, verse 26. I want you to circle, underline, highlight. This is a game changer if you have any relationship, okay? This is so critical. These words changed my marriage. They changed some of my friendships. It's been so helpful, okay? I use this all the time when I'm coaching people in premarital, all that kind of stuff. These words will be a game changer for you. They were for me. This is what Job says. Do you think that you can reprove words when the speech of a despairing man is wind? Do you think you can argue with everything that I'm saying when the speech of a hurting person is wind? Literally, for the wind is what that word means in the original language. It means it's just to be blown away. He's like, I'm just sharing some words for the wind. I don't want you to reason them away. I don't want you to argue with them. I just need to get them out. This was such a game changer for me in my marriage. I remember reading a great article about words for the wind and how important it is. And this was like such a game changer because when I was first married, right, my wife would like share something she was feeling. And I'd be like, well, actually, that's not entirely accurate. Or, I'd go into fixer mode. Any fixers? Okay, all the men, thank you. All right, so it's like I go into fixing mode. I'm like, no, it's not that bad. Or my wife's like, this person's so dumb. And I'm like, well, they're not that dumb. In fact, they have a PhD. And I'm just like, what am I doing? Then we understood this. And I was just like, no. You just actually need to be able to get this stuff out. And so now when my wife's sharing something, she'll just be like, Mark, these are just words for the wind. I'm like, you're right. That person's an idiot, right? I'm on this horse. I can ride this horse all day now that I know. This isn't about logic. This isn't about making sense. This is just about feeling the things that are inside of us. Now I use this all the time. My wife's like, okay, yeah, but it's not like that. I'm like, babe, these are just words for the wind. I just need to get them out. This is such a game changer in relationships. Teach your kids about this. Teach your spouse. Teach your friends. Teach your roommates about this. I'm not mad at you. These are just words for the wind. I just need to get it out, okay? Words for the wind. He's like, this is just what he's trying to say. These are words for the wind, okay? Next friend, Bildad. This is what Bildad says. Then Bildad the Shuhite answered and said, how long will you say these things? And the words of your mouth be a great wind. Uses his own language against him, and he continues. Oh, actually, no, that's where he goes. And he just kind of continues, like, how long are you going to whine? How long are you going to complain? Like, what value is this of you, this wind? Like, we don't need that. We need to fix this situation right now. And then again, he kind of goes with bad theology. Does God pervert justice, or does the Almighty pervert the right? And he continues. If your children have sinned against him, he's delivered them into the hand of their transgression. What? So again, they probably got what they deserved. That's why your kids are dead. Great. Real helpful. Bravo, right? No. Terrible. And then third dumb friend, Zophar. Zophar. What's Zophar? How do you top that? How do you top stupidity? He can, trust me. Know then that God exacts of you less than your guilt deserves. It's like your children are dead, but you actually deserve worse. It's like, what? This is supposed to be encouraging? Like, how is this helpful? How is this helpful? And by chapter 13, Job's just like, what you know, I also know. He's like, guys, I'm not here for a lesson. I'm not here for education. I'm not inferior to you. But I would speak to the Almighty, and I desire to argue my case with God. Guys, I don't want more information. I want to engage with the creator of the universe. I want to shake my fist at him. I want to tell him what's up because I'm not happy. And I want to wrestle it out with him. That's what Job says to his friends. And then this is what he says to his friends. As for you, you whitewash, you cover up, you're trying to make this comfortable with your lies, your simple theology, tit for tat. You did this, God has given you this, we can explain it all away. Get over yourself, Job. Worthless physicians are you all. You're trying to be Dr. Phil, but you suck. Shut up. Oh, that you would keep silent and it would be your wisdom. It was great when you were present. The moment you opened your mouth, you went down 3 points. If you had just remained present and let me share and let me have my words for the wind, that would have been so helpful. That would have been so helpful. Miserable comforters are you all. And then the story continues, and it's a long story, and a new friend, Elihu, comes. He's a little bit better. He waited 32 chapters before he spoke up, and he's like, I've been listening. Here's what I hear. I'm with you. I'm not like better than you, and you're not getting what you deserve, right? He's still not perfect, but he's at least a little bit better and all that. But then they more stupidity, right? It's just like all these things about like, you know what, bad things, good people. They continue down that, and Job's just like, have you looked at the world? I see evil people prospering all the time. They escape jail time. They're doing well. They're experiencing good health. I have done nothing wrong and I'm experiencing horrible things. You can't simply just answer this away. This isn't that simple. And so that's kind of the conversation back and forth that they go. And he's just like, I just want God to speak. I just want God to speak. I just want God to speak. Here's what we learned so far, this far into the narrative, okay? Let's just go a little bit, one more, sorry. There it is. Oh, name. Go back to the names. Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. Let me ask you a question. You ever met a kid at the playground with any of those names? You ever even heard someone calling their dog? Come on, Bildad. Come on. Here, boy. No. Don't be Eliphaz. Don't be Bildad. Do not be Zophar. Don't belittle. Do not blame. Don't use pithy reasoning. Don't give simple theological answers to things that the scriptures don't even speak to. Don't try and just give answers so that you feel better and you're comfortable, and don't rush to solve the problem. Sit in the midst of the pain with people who are suffering. Presence is your greatest present. Then chapter 38, I love this. God's so cool. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, this is so cool. Who's this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Dress for action like a man. Look what he says. I will question you, and you will make it known to me. Translation, you guys have been asking a lot of questions. Let me ask you guys some questions for a moment. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements? Surely you know. And if you go home today and you read those 2 chapters, just God talking about like who put the limits of the ocean? And who told the mountains where to go? And who taught the sun how to rise? And the amazing thing about this narrative is at no point does God say, Job, here's why suffering happens. Here's why evil happens in the world. If you're looking for that answer, it doesn't come here. But God is saying, listen. From your vantage point, you can armchair quarterback this whole situation, but you have no idea what's going on in the world. It is so much bigger than you. It is so much bigger than you. It is so much bigger than you. And I want you to trust my wisdom, my knowledge, and my love. That so often we get carried away by the things that aren't clear in Scripture, that we miss the things that are so clear. That so often we spend so much time trying to figure out things that God, for some reason, in his wisdom, has chosen not to reveal to us. And we miss the things that are so incredibly clear. That somehow we think, well, if there's evil in the world, there cannot be a good God that does it. And God's like, I don't know if that's true. That 2,000 years ago, he left his throne to make his love known. He stepped into the world, wrote himself into human history, and died in our place. Took everything, all of our sin upon him. We know that now. And yet so often as Jesus people and people wrestling, we wrestle with the things that aren't totally clear. It's like, if I don't get an answer for this, I can't believe it. It's like, but he came into the world in human flesh and then took a punishment that wasn't made for him so that we could be put back in relationship to God. And somehow we run right past that and say, unless I get an answer for this. And God's like, you don't have my vantage point. You don't know everything I know. I want you to trust in me and in my character, his character, which now we know and we've experienced through Jesus. So at this point, Job kind of puts his hand on his mouth. He's like, okay, I'll be quiet for a little bit. Then I love where the passage ends because it's so interesting. Job chapter 42, verse 7. After the Lord had spoken these words to Job, the Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite, my anger burns against you and against your two friends, for you've not spoken of me what is right. I'm not happy. I'm not impressed. Your friend was suffering, and you didn't even speak truth into that situation. You tried to make it comfortable. You tried to reason things away, but you didn't even know what was happening. How dare you? And then I kind of expect him to turn to Job and be like, and you question me? Watch out the next time there's a storm because lightning's coming for you. Right? It's like, that's kind of what I expect. But look what he says to Job, as my servant Job has. You've not spoken what is right, as my servant Job has. To which I'm kind of like, whoa. I get that you're correcting the friends. They did dumb things. Okay, I'm with you. But Job isn't all that right either. I mean, he's been calling God out. He's like, are you blind, God? Do you not see the pain that I'm going through? And it's like, yeah, there were things that Job obviously said that weren't true. And yet God's like, but you've spoken rightly. To which I'm like, but all that yelling, all that name calling, are you blind, God? Like all that, like you're going to say that he was speaking right? And what you begin to discover, and you see this all throughout the narrative of Scripture, is simply this: that God is okay with people expressing their anger, having frustrated venting sessions, of sharing their raw emotion, that he's okay with words for the wind. His chest is big enough to handle you pounding on it a little bit. That he's okay with that. That he's okay with you just letting it out. He's not gonna hold you to, but you said this. You said I was blind. Watch if I'm gonna help you next time. It's not like that. He's like, no, that was right. That was okay. I can handle that. I've now spoken truth into it. You now understand. That was okay. That somehow God was okay with the raw emotion that so often, especially in Christian circles, like, no, don't be angry. We don't want to be angry. And it's just like, God was okay with it. God was okay with it. In fact, after this, he says, so now Job's going to pray for you guys, okay? Because you really need help. So Job, just pause on the crying for a little bit. Just pray for your friends. They really need help. They need you to minister to them. I know they're here to minister to you, but just help them out for a little bit. They really, really, really need your help. I was talking with Andrea this week and just talking about this idea of getting things out. She's like, yeah, no, in the therapy world, that's totally a thing. That's actually, it's this thing called externalizing. And she explained it to me in great detail, and I took notes, and I researched some more, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of ways I could describe this. Here's the bottom line about externalizing. You need to get the crap out. Okay, turn to your neighbor and say, you need to get the crap out. One person said it. There was like, I can't say that in church. That's the bottom line. It needs to come out. As I was chatting with her, and she was kind of explaining to me, she's like, oh yeah, you need to either write it out, talk it out, hit a punching bag, but there is something about all the things that we feel on the inside when the world is going all wrong around us that it actually, the crap just needs to come out. You can write it out, journal it, talk to a friend, punch a punching bag, but like you actually have to do it. And they've actually medically recorded that you can actually get stress, you can get ulcers. There's some controversial stuff that says it may even lead to cancer. They're still exploring that. The reality is that it impacts you. What is going on internally and emotionally impacts you physically. And if you do not get it out, it will continue to impact your health. It is so important to deal with it. That's why as parents, we never say to our kid, stop crying. We're very clear about behavior and emotion being two different things. You can feel the different emotions. We even have this saying, this is our home, you don't have to adopt this, but it's like, don't hurt yourself, don't hurt anyone else, don't break anything valuable. Those are the rules with anger. If you need to feel, if you need to cry, if you want to just hit the floor a little bit, you go right ahead, young man. You go right ahead. You're okay to cry. You're okay to feel. We're going to cross a line when behavior starts to come out of that. But to feel, we're not teaching our kids we don't cry. We're not teaching our kids that our emotions are bad. We want them to feel. We want them to be able to get things out because it needs to. God was okay with it. Modern psychology seems to think it's a very good thing that we actually feel our emotions and we actually get them out before they start impacting and affecting us on a physical and psychological level when they're just stewing on the inside. It needs to come out. So part of being healthy, my words, getting the crap out. You got to externalize. You got to get it out somehow. And our culture and our church especially is not really comfortable with that. Right? It's like, no, you can't be angry. It's like, actually, the scripture's really clear. In your anger, do not sin. It's like, you can be angry, but then don't let that impact your behaviors. But you can absolutely feel the emotion of anger. We talked about that's so important. That to be hurt, to be violated, to see someone abused, that brings up anger. You need to feel that. But so often we even feel shame feeling some of those emotions and telling people, no, I'm not so good. I'm actually pretty angry. I'm pretty frustrated, or I'm really hurt by all that's going on. Some of you, maybe the greatest thing here, I'm going to suggest this in my message today, but maybe the greatest thing you do is go out for a drive by yourself. Find some parking lot somewhere, lock the door, roll up the windows, and just cry. Just ugly cry, like where mascara meets snot, meets everything. Cry out, scream. You will be amazed. I remember a 3-year-old turning to his father recently. Yeah, you have to wear mascara to do that. But I remember a 3-year-old just kind of having this big cry and then turning to his dad. And he's like, Papa, it feels good to cry. It's true. There's something about being able to feel. Job was feeling everything. He was giving it to the wind. He was getting it out. It is so important. And not only that, it's important to bring it to God. That you can actually, like Job, say, are you blind? Do you not see? Have you not seen? Did you not see what happened to me when I was 7? How did you let that happen? Why were they my parents? How did this happen? In the church of all places, with the people who I was supposed to be able to trust. You can give him hell. I know that sounds crazy, but you can. You can bring it to him and say, God, I want answers. I want to know why you let this happen. I was 20. Why did that happen? That if we can't bring it to him, how are we going to bring it anywhere? And how can he intersect it and speak into it if we can't bring it to him? That we have to be people who are willing to feel the things that we're feeling. And not just to share them, but share them with God and say, God, please make sense of this. Because I don't get it. I don't understand what's happening. In fact, for some of you here today, it's the reason you hit the unfollow button. Because something happened. You didn't understand why it kept happening, why that happened in school, why the hard times happened, why you cannot seem to find healing in this area. As you just said, there can't be a good God and this continue to happen to me, and so I am out. Yet the thing we talk about here all the time at Lakeside is that God never promised to make our situations better in this world, but he did promise to be present with us in the midst of them. But we actually have to invite him in. That we actually have to let him know what's going on and say, God, I want answers. I want you to speak to it. And what he promises is to be present with us in the midst of it. I want to invite the band to come up, and I just want to take a moment. If you've been kind of journeying with us, you've been on this quest, and You're in that category of, I left faith behind, I stopped believing, or I think I still believe, but I don't want to have anything to do with the God who would let whatever it was happen in your life. That maybe you bought into the lie that somehow, because this is often what we tell people as Christians is, if you become a Jesus follower, then you get to be with Jesus in eternity forever. And the thing we don't tell them is the full truth is when you become a Jesus follower, God sent his Spirit to be with us forever in this world and in the next. That he didn't promise to take all suffering away, although we pray for that and he does miraculous things. But there are times where we just do not understand, we do not have answers. But he promises to send his Holy Spirit to be with us and to be present in the midst of that. And so I want to invite you to stand, and we're gonna sing a song right now that is a genuine and honest prayer, inviting God into the midst of our brokenness. And I want to read you the line, I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? That's an honest prayer. It says, God, I need you. I need you in this moment because I don't get what's going on, but I'm inviting you to speak into it. As usual, our prayer teams are gonna be up at the front. Use them, make use of them, cry with them. We got Kleenex. We should have stock in Kleenex, but we got Kleenex, and they'd be happy to pray with you. But can I just bless you with this? It takes me 4 hours to read the book of Job. 3 for the rest of you who don't get distracted. 3 hours is a long time. I just want to bless you with endurance to go after God, to bring him everything that's going on, and to invite him into it. That we wouldn't be quick prayers that just kind of throw up words and walk away, but actually wait for him to speak. That it may take weeks, it may be months of journey and continue to come back, hearing his word taught, reading it for yourselves, listening prayer, but that you would just go after it. You say, God, I'm not enough unless you come. I want you in the midst of all that is going on. Just bless you with that in Jesus' name. See you next week.